days later, is it still tough to process what happened in Game 7?
Yeah. It's a tough feeling around the room right now. That's just the reality of it. And when you're that close to advancing and playing another day to the reality of where we are today, it's not a good feeling. So. That's sports, and sometimes you're on the wrong side of it, and that night we were.
And Brady, how do you move on from it? I'm sure anything you do the next couple of days, you're sort of thinking about it. I know you've been a part of tough losses, but how did you move past it?
I mean, I haven't moved past it right now. The feeling around yesterday with the guys wasn't good, and around the locker room today, it's not great. It's not fun cleaning out your locker and knowing just how close you were. It's sometimes in a series you're gonna get dominated and you walk out of the rink saying they were just the better team, and we felt like we were right there with them, obviously right to the end, and that one's going to take a while to get over. Just because you only have so many cracks that compete for the Stanley Cup, and we were that close to knocking off the best team in the league, and here we are today talking about it instead. So it's obviously a disappointing feeling, and something that we'll have to obviously think about all over the summer. But at the same time, some positives that we can take out of the year for sure, and we can learn. You can learn from just the run we had and kind of how tough the league is and how hard playoffs are, and it just shows you the fine line of winning and losing and how hard it is to win.
Yeah, Jordan, kind of for you, same thing. Is with all that you guys got done in the regular season and the finish that got you into the playoffs, how does the feeling change when the season ends like that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously last year, counting down the days, there's 4 or 5 games left, so you're kind of, waiting for the season to end. And, obviously it's a lot different this year. We go right to Game 7, and then, like Schenner said, we're, 1 goal away from, continuing to play. And yeah, it's just kind of like a shock that we're just not playing anymore. So yeah, it's tough.
Jimmy, I know for you, what is this, 15-game window or whatever that you got to experience here? What has this experience meant for you, and what have you learned about what it takes to play at this level?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was the best experience of my life. You don't get many opportunities like this in life, and it's a fun experience. But at the end of the day, you want to win as a player. Like these guys said, you're so close, and you come up just short like that. But even, besides that, just the amount of respect that I have for the guys in that locker room and the coaching staff is unbelievable. Just from the day I stepped foot in this rink, every single guy has been, the nicest to me. Even when I make mistakes, I'm trying to learn things. It's like bringing me up. It's every single little thing that could have went right. Learning from these guys has went right, so I think it's a great experience, obviously, and you learn so much as a player.
Braden, is this a different team now after the run with Monty and the success you had? Is going into next year, you're now a playoff team?
I mean, your season's over, and you're never a playoff team until you are again next year, and that's kind of the mentality you have to have. It's a tough league. Do we feel like we're in a better spot now than we were 3 or 4 months ago? Absolutely. But at the same time, we have to learn from this year, just kind of how hard it is to. We have to learn from this year how hard it is to, make the playoffs, and we feel we will get better this summer. We're going to learn from the experiences we have this year, and you have to find ways to get better in the summer, and that's just individually. And then when you do that, and you kind of hold each other accountable, kind of throughout the summer, that's how you get better as a team, kind of throughout the year.
Braden and Jordan, along those lines, I was curious what you feel like the summer, the theme is going to be. I mean, considering where you guys came over that 3 or 4 months, but also the feeling that you have right now coming off the series. I mean, is it more so the things that you guys have accomplished or the things that you want to do next?
Oh, it's you always look back on the year, and I think that, we grew as a team, definitely. Guys have taken massive steps, whether it was maturity or leadership or holding each other accountable. And at the end of the day, when you do that off the ice, you feel more connected and more together, and that translated on the ice. So, like I said, we feel like we're have taken a step in the right direction, and we have to continue to do that in the locker room. And that's, like I said, finding ways in the summer, to get better, to be better, and come into the year, next year expecting to be a good team, and but at the same time, it's a tough league. Nothing comes for free, and in the back of the mind, you just can't look that you had a good 25 game run and you made the playoffs. I think this is just only going to fuel us to want more here coming up in the future.
For Braden and Jordan, just Jim Montgomery mentioned post-game, Game 7, about how there was a change in culture this year for you guys. It's something we talked about the last couple of years when things weren't going well. I'm just curious, when did you guys start to feel that culture change? How difficult was it to change it? And why were you guys able to change it this year?
Yeah, like we've said in the past, I guess the culture was kind of slipping away a little bit, and I think that was our biggest thing this year, was trying to, build that culture back up again. And, I feel like it didn't just happen, in one day. It was a build up over, I'd say the last couple months of, just everyone just sacrificing and, just really building our identity as a group, and, building that resiliency. And yeah, I think it's just, accumulated over the past couple months. And, like Braden said, it's, went to Game 7, one goal away from going to the next series. But, obviously we have a lot to look forward to, and, we want to be better next year. So.
Yeah, I would say with culture, it's a funny word because, there's so much that goes into it. And once you have a culture is always changing. There's going to be new pieces in next year and new faces, and that's just kind of the reality of how everything is. And I feel like the foundation of the St. Louis Blues, everyone almost has that feeling of they know what it looks like and knows what it feels like. And obviously, culture is a tough thing to build up. And then, once you have it, it's even harder to keep too, right? You have to keep on. It's an everyday process to you continue to have the right culture, and that's habits, and that's guys holding each other accountable, and it's details. And, like I said, you can't let things slip. I would say can't let things slip just because things change so fast. So, but at the end of the day, we feel like we're in the right direction, and like I said, we have taken steps in the right direction. Now we have to continue on working on it.
And just a quick follow-up to that for you, Jimmy, just as a newcomer, when you came into this team, how much did you feel that culture right away from everybody in the room?
Instantly. You can kind of get a feel for guys pretty quick, and I'd say it starts with Schenner up top, just the amount of ability he has to kind of push forward this team. I feel like the past month I've been here was so impactful, and it goes down the list to Rue too, and like everyone in the locker room just cares so much. And like I said, it starts up top, and the culture has been there since the day I stepped in that locker room. And like I said, I have so much respect for that, and it doesn't happen within every team. Like I've been with teams that don't have that type of culture, and being able to step in and kind of feel that, it was one of the greatest things for sure.
Hey, Jordan, you came back and produced after that hit by Stanley. Just how tough was it to kind of respond after that? And after being away from the playoffs for a couple of years, what did you learn about this playoff experience for yourself?
Yeah, obviously they got a tough team over there, and we got a tough team, and we knew going into the series it was going to be a battle, and you just got to be ready for everything. They're going to be trying to crush us. We're trying to crush them, and it's going to be a battle. And so just sticking with it and not getting frustrated, when getting hit and when guys are just, battling super hard. And I think I've learned a lot in this series, compared to the past, I guess, is just to compete in the battle and, just how much everyone puts into, this series. And it was just, it was a tough series. And I mean, like we said, it's just we're right there. And obviously it's not a great feeling, being done with the season right now. So.
Two more guys.
Jimmy, I was just thinking, you've gone through this twice with Minnesota losing in the NCAA, so this has been a rough, or six weeks or so. But what have you learned in this time? How have you become a better player in this taste of the NHL?
I mean, I think as a player, it's all about experiences and going through things like that. Obviously, I've lost in my life and I've won in my life, and it's good to go through that with teammates, honestly. To kind of feel that experience with them, and losing twice in the same season is not fun. It's more than you want to lose in one season, but you learn so much as a player, and that's how you use fuel for fire in the summer to train and get better. And that's something that it doesn't come all the time. So I mean, you use it for fuel to the fire and you move forward.
For Braden, you talked, I believe in your first answer about the positives from this season and what you can take from this season. I know the sting of what happened, less than 48 hours ago still looms, but when you look at where this team is this year compared to where it was in the last couple years, what can this room take away positively from what you guys have done, really coming out of the Four Nations and really putting a run together with a young group?
Yeah. Like the positives, like we talked about, we feel like we have built something back up in our locker room where guys are going out there and playing hard for one another, playing hard for the organization, the city, the fans, a little bit of everything. And that's what ultimately wins you hockey game. You have the feeling of the room of, you've been on teams where there's a little bit of, fakeness or whatever of the word might be, where guys are putting on their gear and sometimes guys play a little bit for themselves, and we feel like in this locker room guys are playing for one another. And when you play for one another, you can have the ability to put on runs like we did there down the stretch to get us into the playoffs. Like I said, we feel like we did a great job of holding each other accountable. That accountability is such an important piece in a locker room, because showing up to the rink that the guy next to you is going to give it everything he has for that game. And I think at the end of the day, we had a bunch of guys that were gamers that are willing to lay it on the line for each other, and I think guys feel that. So like I said, there's lots of positives to take out of this year compared to where we were last year, a year and a half ago, or even what people for saying what should be done with this team compared to what we're talking about now. Like I said, it's a feeling of like we're trending in the right direction, and we feel with a big summer and guys maturing and guys getting better, that we feel like we can be better next year, and we expect to be better next year.
Braden, the same thing. It's obvious. Is the sting still there from what happened on Sunday, and how do you get over it?
Yeah, definitely still stings, still hurts, but It's part of the game, and it's going to take a while to get over it. But things happen, and you just got to learn from it and keep pushing forward and getting better.
Speaking of hurts physically, how do you feel right now? How was that series for you?
It's fine. It was a tough series. It was a war out there, and I feel good and ready to get training and get ready for next year.
So were you playing through anything significant during the?
No, it was all good. I was able to play, and that's all that matters.
Pavel, how has this been for you? And someone who was on the ice on that last play, how does that last play where they tie it at the end of regulation, does that kind of stick with you?
Yeah, kind of like it's tough play. Like I couldn't believe it's happened. Honestly, it's just you like what's happening. Like after we landed here, like it's tough night. You like couldn't fall asleep. You're like overthinking what you can do differently. Like, it's like stink, and you have to get it through and learn from that lesson and get better next year.
How does that color? But look at how both of you look at this season. So much got done. You guys made such progress, and it ends on such a lousy note.
Yeah, I mean, every year you come in and you want to win it all. That's your goal, and it feels like a letdown every time you don't. Yeah, we made great progress this year, and feel like we took a big step as a team. And a lot of people as well took big steps, and yeah, it's promising looking forward. And it definitely sucks right now, but looking forward, there's a lot to be excited about, and I think everyone can see it and feel it, and that's what gets you to move on is looking forward.
I mean, after break, it's like bring excitement, like how we grow as a team, how we play as a team, and it's lots good pieces in the team and a bright future. You kind of see that, and how we can be successful as a team, and you have to play as a team, and just believing in the system and help each other out, and future is bright, like Thomas said.
Robert, when you think about where this team was 3-4 months ago, and then to obviously get to the point that you did, what was the biggest change that you feel like took place, and what did it take to sort of get that into that place?
Yeah, I think throughout the year, if you kind of look at ups and downs, we didn't start off great, and then when Monty came in, we had we felt like we were playing good hockey. We just weren't able to get wins, and that comes with growing as a team, learning to close out games, learning to play winning hockey, and as a team, we started to do that, and we got frustrated, and then it wasn't working, and you try and change things, and then we had a bad stretch of games, and then you go into the break and you come out with a fresh mind and get back to the way we were playing, and the results started to come, and it just keeps on snowballing after that, and that's the kind of way I look at the season, and you just got to continue to take that momentum and bring it into the summer, bring it into your training, bring it into how you think about the game and how you play as a team, and bring it for next year.
Pavel, maybe not so much last year when you guys were sitting here talking about it. Maybe 2 years ago, guys were talking about attitude's got to change, culture's got to change. How far do you feel like it's come since then, and what did it take to get there?
I think it's already changed. We going back to play like as a team, not like as a player by player. As a team, like we have like good 4 lines, and everybody all and doing basically the same thing over, like play the system, whatever coach asks, and we know it's working, and we gotta get better. And I'm a big believer. It's like as soon as you get confidence coming with the games, or like winning games, whatever goals or whatever, like you make a play, you build the confidence. As soon as you get the confidence, you like like Tomer said, it's gonna be like snowball. You know what you need to do, and you know it's working, and like you just keep rolling over and over, and I think it's a big lesson this year, and we gotta keep doing.
Robert, can you elaborate on that too? What did it take to get the culture to where it's at now?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Bucci said is similar to the way I think. Confidence is a big thing, and it's easy to lose and it's tough to gain back, and it takes time, it takes a lot of effort. You look at our team, we got a mix of older guys that have played for a while and younger guys, whether it's their first playoffs or first couple of years in the league. And I think as a group we relied a lot on our older guys, guys like Suits, guys Falker, Schenner, and those guys really showed the way and taught a lot of us the culture that we need. And I think it made a huge impact on speeding up that process. And like I was kind of saying earlier, where throughout the year there was times we were playing really well, just weren't getting the results. That's kind of like that snowball where you slowly start turning it, and then once you start getting the results, it just falls.
Talk about your strong finish to the season and your summer motivation, maybe with the Olympics in mind.
Yeah, I think with team success comes some individual, and I was very fortunate, the way our team was playing to be able to produce like that. So it takes the whole team for that kind of part of it. I think for myself, I talked a little bit about it last year, where you see where you can get, and you continue to believe it more and more every year, and try and get better. And for me, I think I took another step this year, and looking to do the same again next year. So Olympics is obviously a dream since a kid, and you watch it and you have memories of whether it's Sidney Crosby's golden goal or whatnot, and definitely a goal of mine, and need to really prepare this summer to have a good chance at it.
Two more guys. Yeah, I just want to ask both of you if you'd care to comment. As veterans, you guys want to have a chance to compete every single year. Do you feel like what you did the last couple months has kind of speeded things up in terms of maybe Army's vision, in terms of being able to make some moves and be able to compete sooner, as opposed to a 2 or 3 year plan that we all are guilty of talking about sometimes?
First, you want me to go?
No.
Me? Okay. Yeah, I think definitely. You have to show that you're ready for that, and you have to show not only Army and whatnot, but you have to show the rest of the league, and players have to want to come here. And I think we showed that. Everyone that is in our room knows what a great culture we have, and has really enjoyed their time in St. Louis. And I think that's spreading more and more, and I think that's part of it as well. But I think that's really answers it.
I feel like it's how the team play and winning games, or like how we perform on the ice, is gonna manage his decision, management decision, whatever we do, like trades or improve the team or whatever. I just feel like from the league, if you watch, people want to be in like successful organization who winning games. We have a good team, and we have a chance to win the cup or like be successful. And I feel like if you team good, people will want to come here. So we just have to play better and basically like make a message to Doug to like, okay, we're ready.
Robert, you mentioned that confidence is easy to lose, tough to get back. When you look at previous seasons where you guys missed the playoffs compared to this season, taking the President's Trophy team to double overtime Game 7, just for both of you guys, how much confidence do you think you're going to carry into next season, given how far you guys went this year?
Yeah, a lot. We really pushed, and I think as a team we came together. We played awesome hockey, and it was so much fun. I mean, the stretch of games at home in front of our fans and just the excitement that the whole arena, everyone could feel it. And that part of it was so cool. And that was a huge part of what we wanted to accomplish, was being better at home ice and having that confidence in front of our fans. And we were able to do that. So I think that's a huge building block for moving forward. And at the same time, you can't be satisfied. We had success at home, and but next year it's going to be just as hard, if not harder. So we need to be ready to work and come back better than ever.
Yeah, like I say, I feel like early this season is good at home, and lately we start winning the games, and we make the Enterprise Center like back to building like when it's tough to play. When like I was playing in New York, it's like 5-7 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. You come and you know what you're gonna get. It's like a hard battle, really hard battle. You can't get to the net, and like I feel like now we work as a team. Like nobody wants to play against us, kinda, and like we gotta keep doing that, and tough to play, be tough to play against team, and we'll be fine.
Jordan, I know a big part of being a goalie is forgetting, but does that Game 7, the end of regulation, overtime, a tough one to get out of your head?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, it was a tough moment, but that's hockey, and we fought hard till the end, and I think we can definitely say that we're holding our heads high after what's went on in this stretch, and at the same time, we're definitely excited for what's to come and just to get back to work. So, yeah, it's a tough moment, but at the same time, it's I'm grateful and proud for those opportunities and being in that moment and experiencing that, and then just looking forward for more.
Cam, obviously coming here after being in Anaheim for so long, you don't know what to expect. But now when you can look back on this experience that you've had here, can you feel comfortable with your decision? And are you excited about what has transpired so far and what lies ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said this a lot, but I'm so grateful and thankful to this organization from top to bottom for giving me this opportunity and making me and my family feel so comfortable here. So as scary as that decision was at the time, I'm really happy with how everything's turned out, and me and my family have been so happy here and with this team. So I'm really excited for the future, and I definitely feel like I'm a part of this group now, and the way that everyone has welcomed me into the locker room has made that transition very easy for me. So I'm thankful for that, and to all these guys, and really excited about our group and what lies ahead in the future.
Cam, along those lines, I know this decision's months ahead of you, but since you're speaking like that, being part of this, would you like to maybe talk about signing here at some point and being here longer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those decisions and those conversations, will have to be something that we go through over the summer and with Doug and the whole group here. But, I would love to be around as long as they'd like me here. I just honestly, I can't say enough about this team and this city and what it means to be a Blue and what that means for the players and for the fans and the community. It just is something that I've really enjoyed. So if those conversations come up, and I'd be happy to talk about that, and we'll see what the summer brings with all that.
Jordan, after the success of the season and tasting the playoffs again, are you even hungrier or even more motivated going into your summer of work?
Yeah, I think it was important stride for us as a team, as a group, as just our culture and just our belief in each other, our group, our team, our coaching staff, management. Like it was a big deal. So absolutely, I think we've gotten together over the last couple of days and since Game 7 there, and just talking with the guys, everyone is genuinely excited and wants to improve individually and in turn as a group to bring what they can to the table. And so it's exciting for sure.
Cam, obviously you've had some really deep runs in Anaheim in the past, some really good years, and since coming to St. Louis, you've put up some of the best numbers of your career. Just how do you explain, why you were able to have so much success this season here in St. Louis?
Well, I think a major part of that was the system that we have in place here with Monty, and kind of specifically for me, how he wants the D-men to approach the game. So I just found myself very comfortable in the system, and we have amazing players here, obviously, too, that helps make my job a little bit easier. But I think it was the opportunity and the way that Monty wants us to utilize our skating ability and jump up in the play offensively. And then, I had a good opportunity on the power play too with Tomer and Bucci, like Boldy, and we got that clicking pretty good. So I think it was just a combination of it all. But the main thing for me was playing in the system that the coaching staff has set in place for us. And it just, it was something I was comfortable with. And then I was able to try and work my game around that as best I could.
Jordan, you had the chance to talk to Hellebuck after. I don't know if you want to share any of that, but if you can give us an insight to what it's like to be the guy in the building. They're chanting your name. He obviously struggled in this building. What is it like when the whole focus is on one person? Can you just give us a little insight into what he was going through as well as yourself?
I don't think our fans made it easy on him, for sure. And that's just, while we're here, just talking about the fans, again, we were talking about it last night, just how much of an impact they had on our final stretch here in the season, and encouragement, and bringing it every night. And it really is a big deal, and we're very grateful and appreciative of that. And back to your question, it's funny. I think I was in junior hockey at the time, and I went to watch a pro game, and I heard it was a playoff game, and I heard the crowd chanting the other goalie's name, and I think I was with my dad at the time, and I said, I think this is pretty cool. I'd like to experience this one day, basically. And then you're there, and it's real. As a goaltender, for me at least, I'm just trying to focus on the moment and the current play at hand, and you can't help to hear the whole audience, the crowd getting after you. And I think it's a really, I think it's very cool, and something at this point in my career, I take in and I cherish, and it's something I'll always remember, and enjoying that moment like that. And it's part of it, and that's playoff hockey, and that's what makes it so fun, is that added intensity and passion from you can feel from everyone around you. And like I said, must have not been easy for him with the Blues crowd like that, but he knows it comes with the territory, and it's part of the job.
When they do it to you, are you laughing inside?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little part of me that finds humor in something like that, and they had another chant going and saying Luke is better between Shanner bros there, and I thought that was pretty funny. We were laughing about it, but it's good stuff, yeah.
Jordan, you were good before the Four Nations face-off, and you were great afterwards. What do you think that did for your play?
I don't know. I think probably a number of things, and obviously that was a big checkpoint to get to and go all into. And obviously following that, we just came back. Perry and I, and we felt our group had a very strong couple days of practice and really came back with something to prove. And then Perry and I being around just such high talented players and seeing how they all operate on the day-to-day and that level of competitiveness and excellence. And I think it was a combination of everything and how our team played and allowing us and me personally to find my game per se and find a rhythm. And so I don't think it can be one particular thing. It's kind of a combination of everyone involved. And but it was very exciting.
Cam, you'd love to easily forget about what happened Sunday, but is it okay to carry those feelings forward? Can that stoke and fuel the fire when you come back here in 4 months?
Yeah, well, I think you have to, it's a little bit of both in my opinion. I think you have to learn from it, understand, what happened, and the way it happened is something that's going to sit with us for a little while. I don't think it's something that you can dwell on, and it's nothing that should be used as a negative for next season. I think if anything, it shows us as a group how close we feel like we are, and we were in a great position with a great opportunity, and unfortunately it slipped through our fingers. But I think sometimes you have to go through those moments as a group to learn from them and try and reach the point that you're all trying to get to. So I know individually a lot of us will be thinking about it for weeks to come and using it as motivation, but when we all come back for training camp next year, I think it'll be it'll be motivation for us, of course, but it's not something that we'll be dwelling on, and we'll be excited for the start of next season and where this group can grow and the point that we can get to as a team.
Jordan, I'm just curious to hear your thoughts personally on your year. You become the all-time wins leader here in St. Louis, then you go and win at the Winter Classic stage, and then you go to Four Nations, and then are kind of a focal point of a historic run here in St. Louis as well. As you reflect, I know it's soon, but as you reflect on kind of what the last 7 months have been like for you, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't even thought about that, and it feels like that was so long ago that it doesn't feel like this season with the wins record. But now that you bring it up, some special moments along the way personally, and I feel very grateful for the opportunities, and I guess a lot of good personal moments and moments as a group, and I haven't really thought about it. Again, I think I need a little more time to reflect, but I think right now what's on my mind is this last, 25 games or so just from that break, and the excitement around this group, I think, is where only thing I could think of right now, really. But I'm sure it'll take some time to reflect, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Jordan, I'm curious for you too, just being in net for this team all year, going back to October and comparing how things look in April and May. I'm just curious, how different does it look on the ice, the team playing in front of you, the style they're playing? How different is it from October to May?
Yeah, it's a big difference. And, you know, like Cam said, I think our system plays a key role in that. And Imani's done a great job in finding ways to get the best out of guys. And then, you know, off the ice, I think our culture has really taken a good shift in a positive direction. And, you know, it's welcoming, it's encouraging. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But the on ice specifically, I think we've really built our game and our foundation, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, a little time is needed. Yeah.
This team is passive on the PK, and that just
Oh.
Just don't put anything. Just don't tell them to warm up the bottle or something. They sent me a picture. And then they put guys on the outside.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. You're just getting that hair back. What?
Okay.
You guys can't. Or have no.
Amateur, professional beverage.
You guys can't. You guys gotta have fun about You guys gotta have one of the best production teams in the league. No one else does. Who's got a press conference with a mini control room in the back? Nobody.
I saw that. What did you pick up?
So there was only one possible question. Get a disease was everything. And then when Monty didn't say either one of your names, then okay, he apparently was project. So I put two together to say you're not going to tell us who's playing the green next year. And then Marty was there questions? Yeah.
Okay, looking at the season as a whole, we improved from last year by about 5%. And, in this league, it's hard to improve by 5%. And that's what we're going to need to do again next year. And that's going to be incumbent upon every player, coach, and person in the organization to try and get 5% better so we can get 5% better, if not more. How do we go about that? Well, I think we had a culture change, which was significant. The investment by everybody after the Four Nations was significantly improved from where we were. And now we got to go into this summer, and everybody's got to have a great summer, and then we got to come here and have a really good camp. So we start on time, and we're not chasing a playoff spot, but in one. And if you look at the teams that usually start really well, right from first game, they're usually, you look Washington and Winnipeg this year. They started great, and they were great all year, right? Finished first in each conference. So those are the things that we got to try and do and build upon, because we were that for 2 or 3 months. And then I think the playoffs is a growing opportunity for us. We have to learn to hold on to leads better. We have to learn to handle big moments where the pressure really gets raised, especially on the road, and those are things that everybody got valuable experience with. And I think that's going to be really important as we move forward as an organization.
Does the way it ends, obviously, is that going to serve as motivation? Obviously, there's plenty of motivation, but the way it ended has to sting, at least right now, for everybody.
Well, it does sting. I mean, it hurts more today than it did 2 days ago, to be honest. But we will use it to grow. I'll make sure that we're better in pulled goalie situations. That's my job. I'm going to make sure the plan is better. I'll study the teams that were the best at it and see what they do that is similar to our D-zone coverage, so we can do it easily.
Go ahead.
Along those lines, Coach, Tony La Russa used to say that if a coach or manager says afterwards, there's nothing more I could do, then that coach is probably wrong. Like, when you look back, what's your regret, or do you have any?
It's a good question. I think maybe not calling our timeout. We had a couple of icings, but I think there was one deflection play where I could have called a timeout just to, go over the plan again. We had gone over it between the periods on TV in the locker room, and their best players were on the ice a significant amount of time, so I didn't want to give them a rest. But probably us going over that plan was probably something that could have helped us, definitely could have helped us. Being more consistent in the playoffs of creating more chaos, especially in Winnipeg offensively, get more direct offensively and get into our forecheck more often on the road. We did it in spurts. We usually did it in the first period, then we kind of got away from it. Those would be the two things that I could think of right away.
So Jim, the improvements you talk about that need to transpire, I guess, percentage-wise, is it more coaches, more players, a little bit of both? How do you divide that, I guess?
No, I think everybody's got to get better. I think it's even across the board, whether you're a defenseman, a forward, a goalie, Zamboni driver, head coach, assistant coach, like everybody that's involved. That's how the culture grows. It's how you get better. Everyone has to be invested.
Jim, I wanted to ask about a couple of the rookies this season. First, Zach Bolduc, just from the moment you got here and on, how do you analyze his season and then, his game in the playoffs as well?
A really good year. When you look at how he grew as far as his 200-foot game, his competitiveness, he became a thorn in everybody's side because he could score goals and he got in your face. So, a lot of growth there. And he's going to grow from the playoffs.
As far as Jimmy Snuggerud coming in so late in the season and then having the production even in the playoffs too, how impressed were you by his time here?
Very impressed with the young man. His hockey sense is off the charts. And I think with a really good summer, putting on some lean muscle mass, he's just going to be better.
Jim, looking at the roster when you came in, was it a matter of things were here, they just needed to be pulled out of the team, and obviously you did that? And if so, what do you see that can be pulled out of this team even more so moving forward?
I did see the talent right away. I think I said that after the Rangers game, the first game I coached. And I think in order for us to pull more out, it's going to be a commitment off the ice and a commitment in communication. And this is more players, pulling each other more into the fight during the summer so that we can start really well when the season starts. And then the other thing is I think we can be a harder offensive team. I thought we got really good defensively. We protected the real good areas, and I thought we were very efficient defensively. But offensively, I think we can become consistently harder and score more goals because of it.
Jim, you mentioned the play on the road, hope improves next year. What shifts for a team versus being home on the road?
I don't know. It's a little bit of an anomaly this year. I mean, we were a really good road team for the regular season, and then we weren't in the playoffs. It's a learning opportunity. We'll become a harder team for 60 minutes on the road because of the experience we've gone through.
Jim, when you come in the middle of the season, you might not have much time to, do some of the things that you might want to do because there's not a lot of time other than the Four Nations break. What are some things you're looking forward to having some time to either implement or think over or put your stamp on this organization this summer now that you have some time to sit back and reflect and do some things?
Well, I want to, tweak some things, look at what the best teams are doing, that we could maybe copy because it's a copycat league. There's some areas of our game that need to get better, and we'll look at those. 5v6 is number one. And then, I think just everybody coming back and having a training camp together and setting the tone of this is how hard we're going to work. We're going to come and have fun too because we get to play a game for a living. But when it's your turn to go, whether it's in training camp, it's an exhibition game, we got to go. And I think that's something that everybody has embraced, that work is fun for us.
Jim, was Holloway ever going to be an option no matter how deep you got? And was Thomas limited at all at the start of the series?
I'll let Doug Armstrong answer those questions.
Monty, going back to the trade deadline, so much speculation about who might be moved. Did you push internally to keep things together, and did you truly believe at that time this team would be capable of doing what they ultimately did, which was have a run and get into the playoffs?
What was the first part again?
Were you pushing to keep the team together? I know you're not the manager of the team, but were you pushing to try to keep the team together? Did you believe that this team was capable of doing what they did?
Yeah, if Army asked me, I don't know if it was that, to be honest. It's a long time ago. But I do remember believing with the way we were playing before, from Four Nations until, Parayko got hurt too, right before the trade deadline, that we could carry it over because I saw something special in how we were playing for each other, the togetherness, the sacrifice, selflessness. Thank you. Oh, there's another one?
Monty, I just wanted to follow up on when you talk about playing harder or being harder offensively, to you, is that more system, detail, and execution, personnel? What do you think goes into that?
Well, it's habits and details. Speed at the blue line, attacking middle ice, having a middle lane drive. You know, you got to attack the hard areas. The puck doesn't have to be there, but body's got to be there. Then the puck can get there. And then the other part was being as committed as we were to the forecheck.
Are there any plays that go through your mind? I know it's still fresh, it's still relatively raw in terms of how you guys lost, but the icings at the end of the game, there may be some chances to shoot the puck too. I mean, do those continuously cross your mind, and obviously wish those would have played out differently?
Yeah, I think, the biggest takeaway from, the 5v6 is showing a little more poise. I think we had 4 icings. I think 2 of them, there's plays we could have made that probably would have clinched the game. And we'll grow from it.
Hey, Jim, I remember when Craig Berube left, he said, yeah, it was a tough job to, play the vets and also mix in the younger guys. I think Drew probably dealt with that too. From a coaching perspective, do you think this success has put you guys in a position where you're going to play the guys who are ready to make you competitive? And hey, if it's the young guy who can do it, then so be it. Have you kind of gone to that next stage there?
It's a good question. And before I was here, I don't know. Doug Armstrong tells me to play the best players. And whether they're 20 years old or they're 35 years old, that's who we play. And Snuggerud and Bolduc deserve to play because they're that good, So I think we're just going to keep doing what we've done. And we're just fortunate that we have sprinkled, 5-year vets, 10-year vets, and 2-year players. We're very fortunate with our roster makeup. Thanks.
And I transcribed the whole thing. I started it was almost the end of the day by the time I got done with them.
I have a different quarter from so
You're getting all this.
I'm really proud. It wasn't mostly I'm not prepared. I just throw it out there and I get it right. All your marks, that roll is no after that. Probably spent a minute and a half until maybe after. Whenever we have somebody start sending celebrity.
I think it was true. I think he would always you're going back to something. But not this week.
BK, you running a best of right now? You running a best of?
He's been a long time.
What are you guys doing between there?
Well, they might. You got actually show up right after. Oh, okay. I think they should have said to us. They should have. Good question. They use it on banners. That's gonna be a bad luck.
Sorry, Monty usually goes a lot longer than that. I just wasn't ready for you. Just thanks for coming today. Obviously, we're here earlier than we want to be, having an end-of-the-year conversation. I'll sort of give you my view of where the state of the Blues. As a manager, my job, I think, is to look at things from 30,000 feet, not one game, one shift, 1 2-minute segment. That's all I can think about right now is 1 2-minute segment. But I do have to look at the year in its totality. I think when we started the year, when we had a conversation, I was asked about expectations, and I sidestepped it to an extent, but I thought we were better than maybe people thought we were going to be. I thought we had made changes to improve our team. I thought we had brought in a couple of younger players. I thought we had brought in some speed, and I was counting on pushback and from some of our returning players to take it to a different level. And you know, there's ebbs and flows in every year, and this year was no different. But what I said to some of the guys is that in 5 or 6 years, when people Google or their Wikipedia this season, they're going to see 96 points in the playoff team. That's probably what I thought we were going to be. One of the things I talked to our team about is an NHL team is like a tanker in the ocean. When you want to turn things around, it takes a while. And when I say that, I mean you get better in this league in small percentages. We had 92 points a year ago. This year we had 96. I hate doing math in public, but that's about 5%. I think if we do that again next year, that gets us close to 100 points, you know, and that's where we want to go. So I'm hoping that we have turned the tide on the whatever, and we're starting to become a competitive team that has expectations, honest expectations, reasonable expectations of success. Anything can happen in a season. You see that around the league. Teams that thought they were going to have a good year didn't have a good year, and teams that thought they were going to have a bad year had a really good year. I thought, as Bill Parcells, you are who you are, and this is who I thought we were, and the season ended up like that. So I'm going to be here and answer any questions you may have, but that's sort of my feeling on the season is we ended up extremely disappointed in how that ended. One of the way this ended bothered me a little bit because it was a pattern of how games ended for us. It's not a pattern that we want to continue, and something that if we're here in next December and we're talking about the same issue, I'll have to go to the old quote machine and bring back the Killer Instinct quote that my wife hates. But we have to find that back in us again. We have to be able to close out games. We've done the research on where we fit in the league. 5-on-6, last in the league. Only team in the league 5-on-6 that had a negative goal for differential. Those are small things that make a huge difference. I told the players that I was privileged to work with this team, and I really feel like that. They came together, they grew, but we're in the winning business, and we left something on the table that I don't know if you get over it ever. I don't know if you ever get over it. I know it's not going to be this summer because it was right there and we let it go. But for the organization, I have to let it go. It will never leave my mind, but I have to let it go and I have to start building. So that's where we're at today.
Players talk about the culture of the team changing. How much do you see that within the culture changed?
Well, I think there became a change of hoping to win to expecting to win. And I guess that is a culture change. And I was talking to Mr. Stillman the other night, and I said that we were fortunate enough to have 3 large changes into our group within a year, and you can sometimes go 5 years without having 3 large changes that affect your team. Those 3 were expediting our building 2 new players into that age bracket of the neighbors and Broberg and Holloway, bringing them in, made me believe that we were closer than other people thought because we believed they were going to be good. Bringing Jim Montgomery in gave us, like when we hired Ken Hitchcock, I said to the players, like, coaching's not an issue. Not that it was an issue under Drew, but he was inexperienced and he was learning. We brought an experienced coach in, and that was no longer going to be an excuse that the players or the manager or people knew more about coaching than Jim did. Jim knows more about coaching than I do, and he knows more about coaching than the players do. He knows the most about coaching of anyone in this organization. And then we were lucky to get Fowler. Like that's you bring in somebody that had an impact that Fowler had on our group, sliding into your top 4, top 3, likely top 2, statistically being one of the top players in the game in his position from the day he got here. So you combine all 3 of those things, it's exciting because all 3 of those things are going to be here at least for another year. And with regards to Fowler, he looks like a great conditioned athlete. He's a great person. I'm getting to see that more and more every day. And he's fitting into where we are next year, and we'll see about moving forward. But that's how I think why we had that turnaround, because of those 3 things.
Doug, you talk about the what you thought this team could be before the season and your confidence there, considering everything through the season, and they took that historic run to get to the playoffs. How much did your confidence waver, and how close did you come to maybe making the decision to shake this group up throughout the season?
That's why I prefaced my that I get to do it from 30,000 feet, and I don't have to do the day-to-day thing. You know, in 5 years, we had 96 points, we made the playoffs. That's how I have to look at it. But yeah, there were times when I second-guessed if we had the right group together, and to their credit, they proved that we did. And what excites me the most is the disappointment they have today. They're not patting themselves on the back on what a great ride we had after the Four Nations, blah, blah, blah. They're disappointed. They knew that we had the best team over 82 games, dead to rights, and we let them off the mat. And that's going to sting them as it stings me, and that's something that's great. And so there are ebbs and flows every year, though. I'm wondering if I'm doing my job correctly. And you just wait till the season's over and you reflect back on it. And I think organizationally we had a decent year. Not a great year. We had a decent year.
Army, obviously the Holloway injury hurt your team. Any update in terms of what he went through, how significant the injury was? Same with Tyler Tucker. And was Robert Thomas at all plagued by injury entering the playoffs?
Holloway and Tucker were done. Holloway got injured in that game. We didn't think it was going to be as serious as it was, and he needed to get some work done. But he'll be 100% for training camp. Tucker's injury, I think we all saw in the playoffs. It was a non-surgical candidate, but he was going to be out a while. The other players. If you're healthy enough to play, then you're healthy. So we're not going to use anyone's individual ailments as an excuse for not playing tomorrow night. And I don't say that to minimize what the guys go through, but I would be shocked if you went around to any team that played 6 months and 82 games, and everyone said, no, I feel great. You know, that's not the type of sport that we have, and so. We had 2 guys that were injured, and that was it.
Doug, your fourth line obviously was really good throughout the postseason. How big a priority is re-signing Faksa?
He and I had a good conversation. It's something that I want to reflect back on. We want to grow. We have young players that we want to grow, but we don't want to disregard what he meant to us. And again, that's a different part, Frank, where we're at in our maturation. If we expect to be good again, then we have to keep good players here. He has to want to stay here too. There's a lot that goes on, but that line was our identity. I've seen what an identity line can do, and he's someone that I want to let the dust settle. I want to sit with Alex. I want to sit with our coaches to find out what we have coming, who can fill some of these roles. But he's been he and Suter specifically came in, veteran players, 1-year deals, and they gave us everything that we could want and more. And Fac's the guy that I told how privileged I was to work with, and we're going to talk to him.
Just to clarify before I ask a question, when you said Holloway had stuff done, does that mean surgery?
Yeah.
Okay. And then secondly, where do you see this roster needs areas for improvement? What do you think your job will be this offseason?
Well, I think we shored up our top 4D for now. I think you can, if we improve 5% point-wise and think we're going to bring back the same team and improve 5%, again, that's not realistic, so we have to make changes. I think bringing Snuggerud into our group is a positive change. I think if we could add another player that can provide 200-foot offense, that's something that we can look at. But again, The problem, JR, I have with today is I say something and then July 15th, it's not done and people think that we're not trying. We're trying to get better. If I tell you exactly what we want to do, the agent's going to know how much I want to spend and he's going to charge me 10% more. So I'm going to keep some of those things to myself, but we would like to improve in the 200-foot offensive game.
Doug, when you look at the last few seasons missing the playoffs and comparing it to this season taking a President's Trophy team to double overtime Game 7, I'm just curious, from a general manager's perspective, what is the difference in your mindset going into the offseason, given the year you just had, if there is any difference?
Well, I think when I talked about those 3 changes that we made that happened in 1 year that can take over 3, 4, 5 sometimes, is that I think the whatever is ending, and I think we now becoming who we want to be, and now how quickly do we move up and continue to expand and grow? We could take a step backwards, but I don't think we're going to take a step backwards. That's not our goal. That's not how I view the returning players as aging players that can't play, because we have young players, like a player like Bolduc, and I haven't had my year-end meeting with him, and I might not need to after I say this, and he's watching, but Boldy was able to play through mistakes this year as we grew. He doesn't have that luxury anymore. That's a 1-year play-through mistake thing that the coach gives you. But at some point now, you're relied on to do things every night the right way all the time. And that's just maturity. And that's not a knock on Boldy whatsoever. It's just the reality when you mature and get better, there's expectations, and the leash is shorter, And Snuggy's probably going to have Boldy's leash next year, a little bit longer. But that's going to end soon too. So I think we're in a good spot. I think because Fowler's coming back, because we've added 2 players in Broberg and Holloway that fit into that age group, and because of Monty, I think we're in a spot now where we believe that we should be competing for playoff spots and hopefully moving up that to start Game 1 year of the playoffs at home.
Doug, I think I heard Barry Trotz yesterday talking about maybe free agency this year isn't going to be as appealing for GMs, that there's going to be an opportunity maybe for hockey trades more so than before. You've never been afraid about making hockey trades. You feel like if that might be your avenue to go, if you're going to improve this team, is to look at hockey trades this offseason?
Yeah, sure. Have them give me a call. No, I think you have to look at free agency for sure. You have to look at everything. I don't think there's a cookie cutter model of building a team that just says it's through the draft, through your own players, or through free agency. I think it's a blend of everything. I think there's good players in free agency. Now, whether they get there or not is always something different. We have our pens ready and Mr. Stillman's money at the side of the table, and then all of a sudden on June 27th, somebody signs. You don't know who's going to get there, but there's players there that we would have interest in if they get to that point. And if not, there's a feeling that if we did nothing, we're still further ahead than we've been over the last 4 or 5 years. But our goal is always to improve.
Before the win streak, how close were you to actually breaking the team up, and what type of influence did conversations with players have with you at all about not making a move?
One-on-one conversation with players, that I think I had one. I think it was after the Washington game. Suits and I talked, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "If you guys keep playing, we're doing nothing." And we did. But I don't. It's not my style to go ask the players what they think I should do. I can pick that up through the coaches and their body language and their performance on the ice. But I did, Frank, tell my counterparts in the league coming out of the Four Nations that if we play 500 hockey or 550 or 600 hockey between then and the trade deadline, we'll likely be sellers, because it's not going to be good enough, and we didn't. But when we got to the trade deadline, you know, analytics are what they are, but, you know, I said to get to 91 points, which I thought 91 or 2 might get us in, we had to play 680 hockey for 12 weeks. I said, we hadn't done that in 2 years. What makes us think we're going to do it? But they did it, and they did it that and plus. So they had earned the right to stay together, and we did get to a point at the trade deadline where we said we would make hockey trades, we wouldn't make future trades. And that, I'm going to say, didn't change. It gave me pause to think when I got the news about Colton Parayko after the LA game when he was injured. That was the day before the deadline. And then I had to regroup with our staff and say, okay, they're playing great. What's the likelihood of them being able to do this without our number one defenseman at the time? And we debated, does that change our outlook? And at the end of the day, it didn't. We were making hockey trades if we were making anything.
Is there any more clarity on Torrey Krug's situation, and how does that uncertainty, if there is it, affect your summer?
I don't really think there's much uncertainty with Torrey. I talked to him. He was at the rink the other day. He's just getting almost normal to day living with his leg, his ankle. So I'm not expecting him to play again. Now I'm hoping he's hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, and he's pushing. But the surgery that he had there, it was very, very invasive.
Doug, just want to ask you about Dvorsky. After getting a little cup of coffee, just where do you see him with the organization right now, especially going into next year?
I think he's going to. So that's an interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I can talk about why he wasn't part of our group that got called up. He was certainly going to be in that group that was here, that came to Winnipeg with us, that would have moved on with us. But I got a call from his national team telling me that they wanted him there. And then we did our due diligence on what do you want him for? Are you going to play him? And they said, no, he's going to have an important role. So as a 19-year-old, I felt it was more important for him to continue to play than to be around watching us. One of the things that we felt as we were pushing to play meaningful games that he wasn't ready for that every night. You know, if we had got into the playoffs, the physical maturity wasn't there, that we wouldn't have gone to him. We would have gone to other guys anyways. Now, he could have learned by being with us on what they were doing, but we didn't have a view in which he would have got into the lineup. And so going to the Worlds, I think, is going to be a huge benefit to him. Again, 19, you know, he's just leaving his ability for junior. We're not putting expectations that are unrealistic for him. He has to come in. He has to have a great summer. He has to believe that, well, he doesn't have to believe. He knows he has to earn a spot. There's nothing giving to him. And if he can do it, great. But if he doesn't make the team out of training camp next year, it's part of the process. I look what Bolduc, as an example, went down, played almost 3/4 of a year, came up, had a really good year this year, probably somewhat similar. Now, I'm hoping he comes in, has a great camp, and he makes our decisions hard. But we're not, I think you guys have heard me say this, NHL teams fail players as much as players fail NHL teams. We're not going to fail him by putting him in a situation not to have success.
Doug, going back to the offseason and signing players like Radek Faksa and Ryan Suter, I don't think that's something that, you know, a lot of people were super excited about. But when you look at signing depth players like that, I'm just curious your perspective on how instrumental players like that can be to a team, especially in the position that they were coming into this season.
Well, for us, it was big because they have experience. And one of if you're going to find an experienced player, I'd like to take one from a winning organization. So you probably don't know what you know until you're not around. So all the things that Suits picked up over 20 plus years, like we knew we were going to get there. But I don't think Faksa knew how much he had learned in Dallas that he could bring to us that was very monumental in us having the proper attitude. So I think depth players from winning organizations mean a lot. And those two guys continuing my belief that that's the way to go when you're going to go that direction. And as far as people, and I don't say this, I trust Al McGinnis and Peter Chiarelli and Scott Mellenby and Tim Taylor and the people I work with, Alex Steen, to know what makes a team tick. And not every signing is sexy. It's not going to be one that the fans ooh and ah over. But again, they make us 0.5% better, and you get 2 of them. That's 1% better. We're at 20% of the 5 we got to get to.
Army, you brought in Matthew Joseph, Texier, and they were kind of in and out of the lineup throughout the course of the year. What do you think of their season, and how do you view those two moving forward?
Well, that was the speed element that we wanted to bring in, and I thought that both players showed flashes of strong play, but quite honestly, the Faksa, Walker, Torpachenko line kept them at bay. And that's the internal part of competition that makes a team better. Now, what they have to do is be great teammates and come back in and wrestle that ice away. And what those guys have to do are be great teammates and not let them wrestle that ice away. Like, our greatest teams are the groups I've been around that have had the most success. It's not what the team across from you brings, it's what you bring in your practices, the competition you have internally, just to get on the ice makes you better. And so those guys brought us speed, they brought us elements that helped us on different nights, and now they have to continue to push to get into that role where they're going to take someone's job. That's the beauty of sport.
Doug, I also wanted to ask you about Jordan Kyrou. A couple years ago, he was a -38. This year, he's a +23 and leads the team. Just how do you analyze his overall, evolution from a couple years ago to now?
Well, that is the beautiful part of being at 30,000 feet, is you can take time to let things evolve and grow and not fail a player. It happens quicker sometimes. When he was those big minuses, it's not like we were a really good team when he was the outlier. And as we became better, those minuses turned into pluses. When you outscore your opposition, you gain pluses. When you get outscored, no matter what you're doing, you gain minuses. So I think he's matured. I think that for he and Thomas, Broberg and Holloway aren't there yet. They'll be there another year or two, as they're now entering the next 3 or 4 years are going to be their prime, top of the bell curve, 25, 26, 27 to 31, 32. That's an analytical look on when players play their best. So he's entering the best part of what he's going to be. Now it's up to him to decide how high is that mountain. Is it Everest or is it a foothill? I think he's got a chance to climb a big mountain. He's got the skill set, he's got the talent, and he now knows the effect he can have on a good team. Or not a good team, a team that's getting better.
Piggybacking on that, what did you see from Kyrou in the playoffs? I know he took the big hit. Do you feel like this playoff experience, because he hadn't been in there in a couple years, gave him the knowledge of what it's going to take to be productive in the postseason?
Yeah, I do, and those are battle wounds that you have to go through. I'll give you like insight to a manager's mind. I thought game 1 of the playoffs was likely our last game we played in Winnipeg. That's if I was working for Winnipeg, I would have said, okay, this is game 1. Let's set the tone. And I don't even remember Stanley ran him over that game. That's something you learn. Like that wasn't game 78 or 9 for them. They view that as game 1 of round 1, and they had circled names, and they were getting their pound of flesh. And I think he learned that. Unfortunately, he learned it the hard way, and I think he's going to grow from that. When you're a marked man in this league, when you're an exceptional player, people want to party you. And when I look at the playoffs, that's what made me excited about our team, is that they knew that if we got to game 6 and 7, the ounce of flesh they took in game 1, 2, and 3, they'd look in their pocket, they'd have a pound of flesh in game 6 and 7. And I thought our guys did a great job of pushing and making it difficult. And again, that's why it hurts so much, because I thought they did a great job of putting themselves in a spot to reap the benefits of playing hard from game 1, shift 1. And that's where it really eats at you that you weren't be able to close that out, because they had done everything they could do physically to gain the position to be in to close that game out. Sure, yeah.
Just how do you think Schenn grew as a captain this year?
I think it's been a tough couple of years. You know, I thought so I'll answer it very well. Very well. I thought he's got his arms around what needs to be done. He is selfless in the way he treats players off the ice. He does a lot of those things behind the scenes that leaders do. I think he's done a really good job. And when we, like, it's not like we handed him a functioning top-ended team when he was the captain. You know, it's not like, you know, we didn't give him like the keys of the Titanic, but we weren't sailing smooth either. So I think he's done a really good job, and more importantly, his teammates think he's done a good job, and that's if he has respect of his teammates, which he does, he has respect of me.
What were those last 2 minutes like for you?
Awful. I mean, honestly, I never felt comfortable because I hadn't had enough information to think that was a time to feel comfortable. We had been down that path too often and had bad things happen to us that, you know, it was uncomfortable, and our worst fears came to pass, that we hadn't learned enough as an organization, coaches, players, all of us, how to close those games out. And it bit us at the worst time, that was something that we couldn't figure out, because you can't go deep in the playoffs not being able to close games out. We're actually quite fortunate to make the playoffs with that 5-on-6 record in the regular season. Again, I think Tampa was unbelievable in that situation. I mean, if we're just league average closing those games out, we're 102 points, like falling out of bed, you know. But Vancouver in here at the end of the year, like it was just, and the concerning was we got seamed. Seam meaning cross ice passes too often, and at the end of the day, it might have been a broken play, but we still got seamed. And it ends up in the back of our net, and we go to overtime, and then you're in the hockey gods' hands.
Army, it might be better question for another day, but just while we have you here, just, you know, you're entering the final year as GM. Just, you probably don't spend too much time thinking about that, but just thoughts on that. And also, watching Alex up close this year, do you feel like it was a good year for him in terms of just absorbing things?
The second part first, yeah, I do. I am. You like when you make a long-term plan, you never know how it's going to work out. I'm happy that Mr. Stillman had the vision to allow us to do this, because Alex was looked at differently this year than he would have been if he didn't have that title coming. He could act differently if, you know, that people know where he's going to be, what decisions he's going to make, and his confidence as a hockey executive is growing. The questions he asks now are genuine, they're thought out. He's been around long enough to see what we do and how we do it. And so I think he's in a really good spot, and he'll be ready. There's no question he's going to be ready. And for myself, yeah, there are times you do reflect on that. Like, I love this job. I love managing a hockey team. But as I said, I think when we said to Alex, just because I love it doesn't mean it's the right thing either. So I'm excited about this next year. I'm excited about working my hardest to make sure that this team is ready to take off when there's a new guy doing this press conference next year.
Hey, Doug, do you mind?
Actually, I'll do this press conference next year, the year after.
Demanding more media?
He loved the media, as you guys remember. He can't wait to do this.
Do you mind going through real quick a couple of other prospects and kind of your year-end scouting report on some of the guys in Springfield and where they're at on your radar screen?
Yeah, throw some names out and I'll see if I...
Kaskamaki, Peterson, Stenberg.
Yeah, all three of those guys had very good years. Stenberg came over after the World Junior. Again, a 19-year-old playing in a man's league. I thought he got his eyes opened on just the 3-and-3 nights. They never play over there, or 2-and-2. They never play the travel. He's a benefactor of doing that. Kaskamaki is one of my... I saw him at the World Junior in Sweden. There's something about that player that attracts me to him. His detail. He reminds me a lot of... And I hate putting comparisons out because they get held to it, but not the offensive Alex Steen. He doesn't have that offense yet. He might never have that offense, but he has that understanding of the game, understanding of important times of the game, where important ice is, how to get to it. I saw that when he represents his national team. Again, he's a guy if he does what he's supposed to do, I see him getting games next year. If he does what he's supposed to and has a great training camp, he could start with us. Petey's another guy, and I got to give Chris Thorburn a ton of credit on this one. Works our development group, and he's had this guy's back right from the get-go. And it's been injuries. There's been a lot going on there, and I tell you, this is like a Torpachenko style of player, big body, plays direct, understands the elements that he can bring to a game, and accepts them, and wants to do that. So he's probably a guy I wasn't sure what we were going to get. That is a guy that really has embraced what he's going to be when he gets to the NHL. A guy that if we had to throw him in a game, I wouldn't have any hesitation because he knows who he is.
What about Buchinger?
Booch, first year pro, learning on the job. That position is harder to, they say NHL players, it's not till 200 games till you find out, if they can play in this league. He's had one AHL season. So the jury's out, I would say, I think he had a good first year, but there's more seasoning that needs to be done there. Guys and ladies, people, thank you very much again for your support again this year. I'm excited to where the Blues are at today. To our fans, I just want to say thank you for sticking with us. We're trying to make this a really difficult place to play. The guys did that at the end of the year, and it starts with the enthusiasm that they brought every night when the guys came out of the tunnel. So I don't want to emphasize how bitter we feel today, how disappointed we are, but I also do want to let people know that we thank them for putting us in this spot to feel like that, giving us the support, and we're going to keep pushing ahead, and hopefully we're not doing this next year for another few weeks. So thanks, everybody.